It's me. Okay, so I have been using Reason since 3.0, and I haven't used the Malstrom in that whole time. I don't know why, I just never reached for it. Boy, was I missing out. This synth is truly a beast, and so quick and easy to get some amazing sounds. Unique sounds, more traditional sounds, evolving sounds. It does it all in its own unique way, and it's really fast to dial in. So first, we'll go into a short video I made, teaching you the geography and the routing of this beauty. Then I'll come back and show you the 10 combinator patches I made using Malstrom that I'm going to offer to you as a free download from my website. There are chapter markers if you want to focus on any specific section. Enjoy. Oh, real quick from the corrections department. In my last video on using an acapella to inform your arrangement, I was going on about how you shouldn't worry about using chord progressions you've heard before. I mean, if you're anything like I was early on, then you might be trying to reinvent the wheel right off the bat, which isn't always the best way to start. I mean, you have to learn the rules before you can break them, right? So in an effort to help take some pressure off of you as a budding music producer, I said, don't worry about sounding derivative. Music is derivative. I misspoke there. What I should have said is that music and pretty much all other form of art, they're iterative. It's iterations upon iterations. I mean, some music is derivative, but the good stuff, the stuff that changes the landscape, is anything but derivative. So definitely find your voice, but until you do, iterate upon what you love without fear. That's what I meant. Okay, so we're going to talk about Malstrom today. It's a 2-oscillator, 2-filter polyphonic synthesizer with a wave shaper and 2 modulation sources that allows for lots of different routing configurations. All of this adds up to the ability to make unique sounds quickly, or more traditional sounds as well, and it was pretty groundbreaking for the time it was created, and it's still relevant today.
It's a classic.
Let's start with the oscillators, and these aren't your ordinary oscillators. They're based on a concept that Reason calls grain table synthesis. So let's get into that. Before we get into it, please throw a like on this video and hit the subscribe button if you like Reason content and general music production content. I've also started a Patreon, and you can support this channel for as low as $5 a month and get all my latest videos ad-free, and there are other perks as well, including a Patreon-only companion to this video, but we'll get to that in a sec. Also, you can head to my website, linked below, and hit me in the contacts form for private lessons in Reason, Ableton, or anything to do with music production. Thanks. So, the 2 oscillators in Malstrom aren't generating simple waveforms like Thor or Subtractor. These instead play grain tables, which are several short contiguous segments of audio. A grain table may be treated just like a wavetable, if you're familiar with that concept. You can activate or deactivate an oscillator with these power buttons here, and choose a grain table directly here, or cycle through them here. Let's choose this thumb bass table. As you can hear, it almost sounds like it's playing a sample. There are 3 controls that control the playback of a grain table. The index slider sets the playback starting point in the grain table, all the way to the left, and it starts with the first segment in the table, and you can move to the right to start at later segments. Now, each table has its own length, and this slider doesn't reflect the length of the table. The boundaries of this slider will always span the entirety of the table, whether it has 3 or 300 grains, so keep that in mind. The motion knob controls how fast the Malstrom should move forward to play the next segment in the grain table according to its motion pattern. With the motion knob in the middle position, the grain table plays back at its normal speed. Turn the knob to the left to slow the playback down, to the right speeds playback up. Each grain table has a predefined motion pattern and a default motion speed. While you can change the speed in which it plays back, you don't have control over the motion pattern of a grain table. All the way to the left means no motion at all, and Malstrom will play the segment you've chosen here with the index slider over and over again as a static waveform, kind of like a traditional oscillator. The third playback control is this shift knob here, and it controls the timbre of the sound. What it actually does is change the pitch of a segment up or down by resampling. However, since the pitch you hear is independent of the actual pitch of the grain table, pitch shifting a segment instead means that more or less of the segment waveform will be played back, resulting in a change of harmonic content and timbre. So yeah, lots of control over the raw sound. Each oscillator features a standard ADSR envelope generator and a level control. The Malstrom has two LFOs, Mod A and Mod B, with tons of different shapes to modulate different parameters. You control the rate with these knobs, and they can be synced up to the tempo with these buttons. You can also make them one-shot, which will essentially make them behave like envelopes, playing once when you hit the key instead of looping like LFOs do. You can activate and deactivate the modulators using these buttons. These switches are used to tell the modulators which oscillator and/or filter to modulate. You can choose A, B, or both here in the middle. The pitch knob here on Mod A is used to offset the pitch of an oscillator. This index knob will modulate the index start position of your chosen oscillator, and this shift knob modulates the shift parameter. On Mod B, we have this motion knob, which will modulate the motion speed of your chosen oscillators. This volume knob will modulate the volume at the oscillators. This filter knob will modulate the cutoff frequency at one or both of the filters. And this Mod A knob, it's kind of tricky. Use this if you want to change the total amount of modulation for Mod A. So in practice, you're modulating Mod A with Mod B. Here's a simple pitch modulation. If I add Mod B at a different rate, we get a more complex pitch modulation on Mod A as the LFOs interact.
It's a lot of options.
Now let's look at the filters and wave shaper. We have two multi-mode filters, a filter envelope, and wave shaper to further shape your sound. Filter A and filter B have the same controls. You can activate and deactivate them here. You can change your filter type here. They even include these comb filter modes. You can watch my video on the sweeper, linked below, if you want to learn more about comb filtering. There's also an amplitude modulation mode, which I'm not going to go too far into, but just know that in this mode, the frequency knob chooses a frequency generated via sine wave, and the resonance knob becomes a dry wet between the clean and modulated signal. There's keyboard tracking, so the filter will react to the notes you're playing. It'll open more the higher you go in pitch. When it's off, the filter acts the same no matter where you play. Here's where you turn the filter envelope on and off. The filter envelope has an invert feature here, and this amount knob controls the filter envelope's influence on the cutoff knobs. Before filter A is a wave shaper. Here's where you activate and bypass it. You can see this as a distortion unit for the oscillators. You can select your mode here, and this amount knob controls how much to distort the wave.
All is distortion.
Now let's talk about routing. With this button lit, the signal from oscillator A will go through the shaper if it's on, and onto the filter if it's on, and then onto the output. If the button is not lit, oscillator A will go straight to the output. With this button lit, oscillator A will go through filter B if it's on. With both of these lit, you're running oscillator A's signal in parallel through both filters. Oscillator B can only be sent to filter B via this button. If this button is not lit, then oscillator B is going straight to the output. You can use this button to run filter B this way through the shaper and into a serial setup with filter A at the end before the output. There's a spread knob, but be careful with it as you may end up with mono-compatibility issues. Also, if you configure the routing like this, where both oscillators are routed to filter B, or like this, where both oscillators are routed to filter A, you have a mono setup, and the spread knob should be at 0. This is a true stereo configuration here, with each oscillator routed to their respective filters. Oh, and here's the output volume.
That's important.
And finally, to the play controls. These are pretty straightforward, with polyphony here, set this to 1 for bass sounds, trust me. There's portamento to glide between notes, it's got legato here. You can also have the velocity you play influence these parameters, and these parameters here can be controlled by the mod wheel. There's also a bevy of CV and audio ins and outs here on the back panel. Hit the comment section if you want me to dive more into the possibilities of the back panel. Let's take a look at some patches I made for you. Pretty sick device, huh? It's really impressive, especially when you think about the time that it came out. So I made some combinators for you. Now, these all have some pretty advanced routing, and I put macros on each of them so you can tweak the most relevant parameters easily. These are Combinator 2 patches, so keep that in mind. I made a companion video for my Patreon subscribers. You can become a member for only $5, by the way. And in that video, I go much deeper into how to make your own Malstrom combinator patches. I make a couple of patches in real time so you can follow along. I use some advanced routing and some neat tricks you can use to make your patches really shine. For anyone wanting to learn general synthesis techniques, how to make patches for the Malstrom, how to root up a combinator, how to make sounds that are mono-compatible via parallel processing, or maybe you're using an older version of Reason and you want to learn how to adapt these techniques to the Combinator 1. You definitely want to check this video out. Also, I'll have Patreon notifications turned on, so if you have a question regarding applying something I show you, leave a comment and I'll answer. So I offer a deeper dive and follow-up support to my patrons. You'll be able to see the questions I've answered for others and really hone your skills. So get on it if that's what you want. Now onto these patches. So I'm just gonna go through these really quick and show you the macros. Had some fun making these. This one's a pluck. I called it huge. Let me turn this up. You've got control over the delays. You've got control over the delays and the reverb. Here, I'll show you the routing really quick. Pretty complex. Nothing too crazy. It's a nice little pluck. Here it is in mono. Nice. I'll show you the next one. Called this pluck clean glass. It looks like I went pretty ham with the macros. You can control the delay time, the sync delay time, reverb size, decay, all that, reverb amount, delay amount. You can turn them off. Ooh. Nice, like, creamy one. Nice. Has this synth bright button. What did I do here? Oh, nice. Or bright. Let's take a look at it real quick. Oh, pretty straightforward on this one. 2 Malstroms in mono sent to 2 different channels so I can pan them away from each other. And using the synchronous as a multi-effect. That's where the delays and the reverb and whatnot are coming from. Nice. And super usable sound. Here it is in mono. Stereo, mono. Nice. Doesn't go anywhere. The sides just fall away. Okay, what's next? Oh, it's a pad. I called Atmos Motion. I think naming them is the hardest part. Oh yeah, it's got some wiggle to it. I think this is how you control the wiggle. Or more wiggle. Control the reverb, control of the... That's probably the pulverizer compressor. Let's see. Yeah. Another kind of straightforward one Malstrom, and some parallel processing. Sweet. Let's hear this one in mono. Nice. Nice. There's some bad notes in there. Made a macro to control the crunch. I'm sure that's going to probably an Audiomatic. Delay amount, delay low pass so you can chill it out. Oh, and this macro is for there's a sidechain happening to keep the delays, because I'm using these simple delays, to keep the delays out of the way of the lead when it's playing. And then this release controls the release here, so you can make them come in later or earlier. Cool. Let's listen to this one in mono as well. That's stereo. That's mono. Sweet. Oh, I went ham on the faceplate on this one. Key epic string stab. Oh, that's pretty epic. Yep. There's a chorus, a pulverizer, an Audiomatic, reverb. You got controls for all of those. Reverb. Let's turn the reverb and chorus off. Sounds pretty mono there. And then stereo there. Oh, this one's pretty complicated. Two Audiomatics, a reverb, a maximizer. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Chorus. Let's see the routing. Yeah, it's kind of a mess down here. But you can learn the ways. Let's hear it in mono. Sounds nice. I think this one's one of my favorites. Warm keys. Yeah, it just has a vibe. Yeah. A single Malstrom with some fun routing. The sweeper is key to the sound. And an Audiomatic, a reverb, a couple EQs to tame some things. It's sine waves. You can control the Audiomatic. And the filter. It sounds better warm. Let's take a listen to this one in mono. Nice. One more. See why I call this one Whales, because it definitely sounds like you're in the ocean somewhere. Whoa, a lot going on. A couple of Audiomatics. I'm sure this is the one that's causing the kind of distortion sound. Even more Audiomatics. Oh, what are you doing here? And a subtractor. Let's go. I'm assuming I'm using this for like the low, 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 since it's a sine wave. Yeah, it goes way down there. Let's see what this distortion thing does. Oh yeah. It gets nasty. Control over the low pass. And control over the portamento. That's a fun one. Let's hear it in mono. That's stereo. That's mono. Cool. Let's see. Wrong note, but you get it. Simple controls here, motion. Not sure what that does. Kind of seems to work in the opposite way you would expect. You're getting less motion on this side and more motion on that side, but meh. It's still a motion control. Lot going on here, a bass amp. Oh, this Thor, I'm using just the filter and the chorus. So I'm running audio through the Thor and just using this section. You gotta map it with the matrix here, but yeah. Some EQ action. A lot going on in that one. Pulverizer. Let's hear this in mono. That's stereo. That's mono. And back to stereo. Pretty good. Oh, this one, I like this one too. I think this one's my second favorite, maybe my first favorite. Whew. Yeah. Love the sound of that one. It's got that FM-ness to it, although I don't think there's no FM action in the Malstrom. I think I'm getting tricky here. Yeah, I'm using this one-shot modulation on the shift parameter. So if I take that off, one shot meaning it acts like an envelope instead of an LFO, and it's got this pluck shape. So if I take this off and this off, it was making the whole sound. But that sounds pretty good too. But with it, yeah. That's in stereo. That's in mono. Nice. Just so you know, I just added these C-Lig gains after the combinators just so I can show you the mono, but they're not part of the patch or anything. So if you don't have the C-Lig gain, don't worry. And then here's the last one, bass deep low. Simple bass action, just some low end. You can you can add some dirt. And some grit. What's grit? Ooh. Just some nice low end. Audiomatic on the bottom setting. Always good for some sub sounds. Looks like I'm doing a similar thing to get the attack with the modulation on one shot. So let's hear it without it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a neat little Malstrom trick. Instead of doing like pitch modulation is what you would do on a normal synth, this kind of shift modulation has got a different flavor. Let's hear it in mono. Sounds good. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button as it really helps us creators out. You can hit the subscribe button too. Those patches are available for download on my website, so go ahead and get those. And I really hope to have sparked some more interest in synthesis and creating your own sounds. Reason comes with a lot of really cool synthesizers, including my OG fave, the Subtractor. Click this video right here to see the power of one of Reason Studio's earliest creations.